Thank you. Thank you.
So I have the lovely Scott Bales with us, and he has been very busy in regards to promoting his book. I understand it's called Innovation Wars, but also outside being an author, what's your background? What's the story of Scott?
Yeah, so I started my career as a banker. I worked for ANZ Bank for nearly 10 years. They deployed me up into Asia when ANZ had the ambition to, this super regional strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of allowed me to look at the banking space from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And I got involved in a whole bunch of ventures, particularly around fintech, emerging markets, new technologies in and around the space, and got addicted to it. Did a lot of work with startups. Actually had built a number of startups myself. But then when I had kids, started having kids back in 2011, realized that the salary in which a startup can provide or should provide is not great for particularly, I'd say, the cost of living, supporting the cost of living as you start introducing kids into life. And so
Sure.
I stepped into the consulting and advisory space, and since then have been doing a lot of work consulting and advising digital transformation, innovation, future of work, emerging technologies across a number of sectors, right across the globe as well.
Great. So for you, and maybe something that you talk about a little bit in your book, what do you feel are some of the top innovations or changes that have really impacted your industry or what you've been doing in the last 12 months?
So one of the research points that I've probably been pointing to now since 2012 is while we all look at how fantastically designed and how addicted we are to our smartphones, an event on the 27th of June 2007, which is actually the date Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, is what we call the tipping point of the digital economy. And it's not so much the phone itself, it's what's lies underneath it. And there's a concept called standardized ubiquitous mobile computing. Basically, anybody could build an app and deploy it to hundreds of millions of people around the world, to billions of people around the world. What that meant is that from that point, our lives changed completely. We've been psychologically rewired, the way we expect the world to behave, our access to information has changed. Because we can carry with us Google all the time, we can carry Facebook all the time, we can carry Wikipedia with us all the time, we can call an Uber, we can book a hotel right from our device. And what's happened over the last 10 years is our minds have been psychologically rewired from three sort of parts of our life. First and foremost, we're a citizen of our country. So Australia's just gone, for instance, Australia's just gone through the election.
Yep.
The electoral process, the democratic process has changed significantly over the last 10 years because the issues that are relevant for an election are very different because the medium of how we build consensus and awareness is very different as well. Because literally, like for instance, the indiscretions of politicians have never been more visible because we all carry a camera.
Yeah.
The things that a politician might have done behind closed doors in the 1970s are now shared on social media within a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
The next part is
that increased transparency really is changing and making, I guess, in a good way, making people accountable. So our politicians, like you said,
good and bad. So I mean, the challenge is then politics becomes more about social choice. And to be frankly honest, what the Australian PM does with his time on a Sunday morning, I don't care. I don't need 55 journalists posting his photos of him playing backyard cricket with his son on the front of the newspaper. Because you know what? As a political representative, it's not relevant. But that's become our lives, as we are we're so curious about other people's social lives, and we have the tools to do it, that we expect that we can monitor anybody 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's why the Kardashians have raised to fame. It's why Trump is so successful, is because we're obsessed at a citizen level with this device and the ecosystem which it brings to us. The second part is change us as a consumer. Now, throughout time, how we spend a dollar determines the commercial viability of any product or service. But this has just never been more prolific because this has changed our expectations of what we can buy in terms of value as a consumer. Before we buy our next TV, not only will we check the specs, we'll look at online reviews, we'll check to our peers around what everybody else think, we'll look at the complaints, online complaints areas, so we can actually essentially make our product selection with a little more granular in research and analysis before we even make that choice. And plus, once we've made the choice, we're likely to walk into a Harvey Norman, have a look at it, play with it, and then go, actually, you know what, I can get this better online, buy it online. And We have that choice now. The last one is, which is the important one for this topic here, is the workforce. And the workforce is broken up into a couple of things. We have what we call the entrepreneurs, so people that build and grow businesses. There is the leadership tier, so people that actually lead and manage businesses, and then what we call the workforce. So actually, everyone from from lower management to upper management throughout organizations. And how we work in the last 10 years has dramatically changed from that point. Again, because this device has been with us. Prior to 2007, the only people that were accessible remotely were the executives that had BlackBerries. Now, anybody can have access to their office. So that's hence the idea of working from home has become, common practice in a lot of firms. We no longer stress about, oh, my kid's sick, I'll stay and work from home today. That's kind of normal in the modern economy. But more importantly, our ability to work across continents, across time zones, to have different teams in different countries is quite common. For instance, in the Australian workplace, a lot of BPO practices are based in the Philippines.
Yep.
Cheaper labour, good speaking English, a lot of back office IT and payments is done in India. Only through globalization has that really been possible. And so the future of work is evolving. Now, I wouldn't say any one particular technology is the key catalyst, but I would say the tipping point is that the 27th of June, 2007, when the iPhone was announced.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that third innovation you're talking about, where we're looking at how it's impacting people and entrepreneurs and what they're now have access to, let alone are capable of, and leaders, because it is really a space where a lot of people are having conversations now. More and more people are doing it, but then there's still a population of people that either because they haven't been as exposed to it, or maybe they're not early adopters, have not really adjusted into this new way of working. So would you have any advice or tips or ways to sort of help that transition along for people?
Yeah, so the way we look at that was we segment into three categories. You have the digital natives, the ones that naturally they're taking selfies in the delivery room on their birthday. At the other end of the scale is the digital laggard, the ones that kind of fight against the adoption of technology. But you have the vast majority of us in between, which we call the digital immigrants, where we've adopted technology, we've embraced it, we have a degree of mastery, but our appreciation of technology is still clouded by our nostalgia for the pre-digital era.
Right.
So one of the things that we do a lot of work is actually helping people understand actually a lot of our goals and objectives around future of work are exactly the same. It's just our tools are different. Now, like any change in history, we have to focus on retooling our skills, our mindset to actually be relevant in the future. And it's actually not that hard. There's a whole bunch of things like you can go to online forums like Udemy or Coursera to update your skills and adapt to new ways of work. So everything from cloud collaboration tools to instant messaging tools to large-scale analytics tools, where these tools are here meant to complement and enhance our value. The challenge is for those individuals, they initially are what I call a process worker. So they just follow steps. If you, let's for instance, if you're in customer service or back office or so forth, where a large percentage of your job is actually just dun, 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 chances are that job will be automated in the next 5 years, or significantly automated, or even augmented with the support of there's some kind of AI listening into that phone call that's telling you what to say, if it's not saying it already by itself. And so there's a lot, basically I say that there are two different mindsets you can take here. And this is not my work, this has been around for ages. You have the fixed mindset that'll see this as a risk, scary, it's evil, that kind of thing. Or you take the growth mindset as actually, this is just evolving. This is a chance for me to learn new skills, to evolve myself as an individual, to bring things forward. And millions of people around the world have thrived by just updating a basic updating of their skills. It doesn't take a lot. And I say to everyone, just go back to being curious. The simple question you can always ask every single time is, why does the technology exist? Don't ask what it is or how it works, but why does it exist? Because knowing its purpose and value is far more important than how it works. Because, for instance, cloud computing, how it works is I trust to highly complex and very skilled computer science individuals. But I know the value of cloud is around agility, elasticity, scalability, and cost effectiveness. understanding any technology based on it, why it exists, will help the individuals actually connect with, oh, actually, you know what? This is not here to replace me or to put me out of a job. This is here to make me be more productive. Or this is here to give me a chance to do more things in less time, or create more spare time. Particularly for those, there's a growing number of people called digital nomads. Digital nomads are these kind of freelance workers that typically only work through the gig economy platforms. And they realize now that by automating significant parts of what they do, they can produce the same amount of work in a significantly smaller amount of time, but also do that from the beach in Thailand.
Yeah.
I know software engineers that work like that. I know writers that work like that. I know strategy consultants that work like that. I do a lot of work through those kind of remote advisory platforms where people basically buy an hour or a day of my time. And it doesn't matter where I am. I can be a productive member of that workforce. That brief comes in, I fulfill the brief, and it gets completed. And those tools are actually helping enhance our productivity and our lifestyle choices.
Yeah, cool. And you also mentioned just that global component to what we do now is that we have access to not only teams and partners through offshoring or even just as digital nomads to connect with anyone like we are. I'm in Brisbane and you're in Singapore somewhere. And so do you find that particular countries or particular regions have more of an appetite for this way of working than others, or are you finding that the trend is fairly the same across the board, or what's your experience so far?
Yeah, so this is one of the things where I sort of battle with all the time. So I'm Australian. I spent up to my mid-20s in Australia, and I love living in Australia, friends and family there. But the challenge I see is I see Australia isolating itself from the world more and more in this way. So the mindset, for instance, of Asia is very hungry, very growth-oriented. There's a lot of what I call positive competition in the region.
Okay.
A lot of markets are still growing in double-digit growth. I still do a lot of work in Australia, but it's only in very select industries. Too many industries in Australia are very complacent. And so the motivation to change and to evolve with the time is not as high as, for instance, the Philippines or Thailand, who actually see this as an opportunity to progress their economies.
Yes.
So if I look at, for instance, particularly the economy as it relates to the Philippines, extremely hungry country. They're talking about people that are doing a course every single day so they can put another badge on their CV. They'll learn a coding language, a design skill, so they can list themselves on Fiverr or Freelancer or the number of different platforms. So the hunger for education in the future of work is significantly larger in countries like that. Australia has got some amazingly talented people, but the ones that are really talented actually end up going offshore, realizing, actually, I can take my skills and I can go and do my creative director work in China. And what's happening in China is like, wow, there's amazing possibilities here. We can build a prototype in 24 hours. We commercialize it in 7 days. And so I see a lot of amazing and exciting Australians working offshore, embracing sort of the future ways of working.
And for you, Scott, is there anything that you're personally excited about that's happening at the moment, or we're on the verge of, I guess, experiencing ourselves?
Yeah, so the two things I'm really excited now is the future of money and the future of health. As they relate to all three tiers of our lives. The future of money is, so historically, everyone needs money. That's how we actualize our passions, our exchanges, what we want in life, our holidays, our education. It is basically the gateway to a significant parts of our life. The challenge is navigating the productivity of our money has always been our responsibility. And so we've had this, the banking and insurance space has imposed a product structure on us for decades, and it's up to us to navigate that. Do I need a checking account? Do I need a term deposit? Do I need a credit card? Do I need a personal loan? What type of insurances do I have enough coverage in my insurance? The onus of navigating that has been on us. And so we're seeing tools actually now coming to fruition where supporting that decision process. So tools that understand us at a more granular level, our whole life. That might be, for instance, understanding our biological makeup, our lifestyle choices, our environmental choices, our behaviors and preferences, so that we know that the products that come into our life are actually appropriate for us. They're not just the ones that were imposed on us and that we chose.
Yeah.
So that's the future of money stuff. that particularly determines our role as a citizen and as a consumer. The next one, which is future of health, is health actually has a huge impact on how we govern and how we run our lives. Because for a lot of people, it could be family health, it could be personal health, it could be a fitness ambition, it could be mental health. Because that has a huge impact on the choices we make around how and what we do for work. So say, for instance, in Australia right now, there is a large number of, let's say, new mothers, with kids under the age of 5, that are deliberately staying at home because the cost of childcare is too high.
Right, yeah.
So that's a part of their health and financial makeup. And realizing this is now a huge untapped workforce, particularly as the gig economy comes out, saying, okay, you know what? How do we enable the mental health and the self mastery to figure out, here's all these mothers at home that, okay, yes, they have a young child, but I'm pretty sure most of them have 4 or 5 hours a day throughout the day where they could productively contribute back to the economy. And this is not just about getting into work, but it's more about their own personal mental health, because it's actually saying, okay, most people find mastery and purpose through work as well. It's not just about having a job and getting an income. Most people, still a large number of people come to work because they want to have belongingness, they want to have colleagues to interact with, they want to know they actually have meaning in a productive sense. So that contributes back to the mental health space. The next part of that is, in the future of work, is we're seeing employers now take a more active interest in what we call the preventative health of their employees. So this is really big in California right now. So companies like Airbnb, Uber, and so forth, we're going, okay, not only will we provide you the health insurance policies to protect your physical health, but we'll actually help you make healthier choices in life. So we'll, for instance, Google globally has done a huge overhaul of their canteens to make them, facilitate, hey, you want to do strict keto, so we'll help facilitate that in our kitchen. You want to be vegetarian, you want to do vegan, so they'll help facilitate those health choices. They'll also enable things like screenings, health interventions, access to counsellors and so forth, personal trainers, yoga. I mean, all this stuff comes together to build an environment where you are happier, you are healthier, your likelihood of getting sick is significantly lower, and actually hence the financial burden on an insurance or healthcare plan you have is also lower. Yeah. But more importantly, you're happier. Like just by being healthier, you're happier. Far too many people sacrifice their health in the pursuit of wealth. And so we're seeing that balance come back where actually now it's almost combined. And so actually I think it's Airbnb that's now looking at including a health score into their annual performance reviews.
Yeah, right.
So if you can demonstrate that you actively can, it's usually done through, Fitbits and apps and so forth and health tech.
Yeah.
But it's showing that there's an objective measure under here that says you're not just working really hard, you're also sustaining yourself. Because Airbnb knows over the long term, you're going to be a much better employee long term, to be more loyal, be more productive, more 100%. Motivated.
Yeah.
If you're healthier and happier. Yeah. And so that's a huge element of future of work we're seeing right now. And that's completely separate from all the technology stuff that's happening.
Yeah. Well, technology, I guess, supports us to be able to do those sorts of things, right? So, but that's really exciting. I mean, it's great to get some insight into what other companies are doing in that space that, like you said, Australia is sort of just on the verge of some of these things. We think it's new, but it's been around for ages in other countries. So it's really good to hear some real life examples of how it's actually being embedded or integrated into people's workplaces. And that's, absolutely something to be excited about. I guess to finally, because there's been some really cool stuff that we've chatted about in the minutes that we've had. You have your book. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the key concepts out of that book?
Yeah. So Innovation Wars. I've spent a lot of time building corporate innovation programs, mainly in the banking and insurance space, but also telecommunications and media. Mm-hmm. So what it does is it's the accumulation of lessons from 10 years of work. And it boils down to two modules, sort of two frameworks that we use to evaluate companies. Is if you want to be an innovative company, there's a sequence that they actually you go through to become more innovative in terms of an organization. And I'm talking about you want to be as innovative as Netflix or an Airbnb or an Amazon or a Google. And that is, the first point is context. So how self-aware are you? A lot of companies today are not very truthful with themselves around their strengths and weaknesses and where their strategic aspirations lie. The next is culture. So for instance, if you look at the 14 leadership principles of Amazon, when you get recruited to Amazon, you don't get recruited on capability or skills, you get recruited on cultural fit. And so we're seeing the recruitment for the culture as a key trend going forward in organizations, particularly the cultures of curiosity, customer centricity, data-driven, those kind of things, that they're key cultural elements to companies. The next is capability. So capability is the skills, programs, and frameworks that you use to actually deliver on customer value. Now, this could be lean, it could be agile, it could be design thinking. There's a number of different frameworks that you're going to need internally, but actually figuring out from a capability standpoint, which ones will you need and when. And the last one is collaboration, of saying, how do you collaborate in more productive ways where two partners are no longer 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 1 now equals 11. So this is, if you look at particularly to the value chains of like Alibaba's supply chain, ecosystem of Uber, they're significant. When they work with partners, it's about enhancing the value of both parties. It's a very different collaboration model to what traditional companies have done in the past. And the second part of the book focuses on the individuals. What individuals drive innovation and change? And comes down to 4 Ps. The first is individuals that are hugely successful in the space are problem driven. And that is they have a problem for their customer that they deeply want to solve. Now that might be the affordability of housing. That might be the education of lower socioeconomic status members of the community. Like they'll have a problem that they really want to solve. Then the pursuit of solving that problem gives them passion. So that's the energy, the spark to get them up. They don't care how it gets solved. They just want to keep trying to figure out how to solve it best for that particular customer. And then by weaving those two things together is the third one, which is purpose. Purpose is a huge part of what I said before about mothers working at home, is we find purpose. Purpose what gives us bounce out of bed. We have a reason to get up. We have a reason to keep going. We have a reason to persevere. So we go problem, passion, purpose, and the last one is more of a governance thing, and that's principles. So the best change makers and catalysts on the platform have a series of principles of what they will and will not do that governs them through their choices in life. Because it means, okay, you can work crazy hard, but if you're willing to do things that are against your own personal principles, that creates mental stress for you, that creates anxiety, that creates a negative thing for you as well. So if you know your principles up front, they guide your decisions at every choice for your career. So the 4 C's and the 4 P's is the main body of the book.
It's awesome. So Scott, if people are interested in either your book or seeing more of what you do, what is the best way to get through to you? Is it through your website?
Yeah, so I have 2 websites. For me as an individual, I'm a professional speaker and author on these topics, scottebales.com. This my portfolio is there and all my show reels. My business is, which I'm the managing director of, is Innovation Labs Asia, which is literally just innovationlabs.asia, where we deliver our program work. The book and my previous one, so Innovation Wars and my previous one I've already, both available on Amazon.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it with your schedule at the moment. And I look forward to connecting again, hopefully in person next time.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.